There is a question from the chat room asking if you can export your mailbox in a CSV.
You can export your mailbox in a CSV. There are basically the answer is no. You can't export it in a CSV. But the sort of bigger question, of which that's a more specific question, is how do you export your mail generally? And I'll sort of talk about that at the individual level and at kind of a domain level. At the individual level, if you're just a single person and you want a physical copy of your email on your personal machine, then go over to Settings, head over to POP and IMAP, and pick one of these protocols for downloading all of your email to a local device. IMAP is generally considered to be, the most flexible protocol in terms of being able to coordinate downloaded email from multiple devices. If I had a local email device on my computer, like a program, just any old program, you might have the option of downloading your email from Gmail to that program and then exporting in CSV if that was what you wanted to do. Now, since this is not just a Gmail course, this is a Google Apps course, you might be wondering, hey, if I'm a Google Apps administrator, do I have access to the email of the people who are in my account? And if I want to, can I move all that email to my own personal hard drive and search it and whatever? And the answer is that within the standard version of Google Apps that we're dealing with right now, you do not have that ability. Like, I can't, for the people who, if you've been emailing from a Google Apps account that I created for you under Google Apps Standard, that feature does come into play in the Premier version of Google Apps, where you have the opportunity to apply some more advanced advanced functionality to email that I was actually going to talk about a little bit more in the privacy section. But just as a heads up, there's a service called Postini that allows you to do all sorts of really advanced fine-tuned things with the Gmail accounts within your Google Apps Premier installation, and I'll mention that a little bit more. I'll talk about that a little bit more later on. That answered the question that she asked and 15 others. So I'll let somebody else ask a question.
Another question from the chat room. She says she has a Google account with all her apps that is different from and separate from, she thinks, her Gmail account. She can't be logged into both at the same time. Is there any advice on how to integrate them?
Yeah, actually, I mean, for my personal, I mean, I've well, the easiest sort of hackiest way to do it would be just to create different browser windows. You could have a Chrome window open and a Safari window or an Internet Explorer window, and those browsers operate in completely different sandboxes. And so, so Google would look at the different browsers and not care that they were coming from the same computer. So if you wanted to have a personal account, a Gmail account open on Safari, and then your Google Apps account on Chrome, like, you can do it that way. Another thing that people do pretty frequently is with Chrome in particular, and I mentioned this a few courses back. If you right-click on the Chrome icon, you have the ability to create something called a new incognito window. And when I create a new incognito window, it basically creates its own little separate space for cookies and browser history and all that, with the idea that once the incognito window is closed, all of the history and so forth and it is removed from the computer. So you're doing incognito browsing. Incognito browsing is also pretty convenient when it comes to having multiple accounts running of the same service. So you could have as many different Google accounts that you're plugged into as you have incognito windows. So.
But Michael?
Yes.
Couldn't you add your other Gmail account name to your Google Apps settings information?
Yes, I mean, yeah, I mean that would be if if the question there's sort of the question of how do you look at the account simultaneously, and then how do you integrate them? And I just answered the question of looking at them simultaneously, and when it comes to integrating them, if you basically head over to settings and then accounts. As I mentioned a moment ago, you can add mail accounts that you would use to pull email from into your Google Apps.
Which means that like if I get a request to my Creative Live account to share a document, I can answer that as a different email account and see the document, right?
Right. Well, if you added your personal, like let's say you're looking at the Google Apps account for Creative Live, and you got an email to your personal account in regards to Creative Live Business, you could you could add your personal account to your Google Apps account to download that email from your personal account. Now, I'm not particularly fond of that type of functionality because I just like keeping everything in little separate buckets. But yeah, I mean, you could do that.
Would it be possible to consolidate the two accounts so that you just have one account at that point with both sets of information?
Yeah, that was a question that we were sort of batting around a couple of minutes ago. I mean, I personally have not specifically done that, but I mean, it appears to me that in terms of getting POP access to other accounts, you could theoretically pull all of your email using POP from that account. But I just haven't specifically, in a permanent way, so that the accounts have been consolidated. If you wanted to,
I've actually, it's sort of a hack, but it works really well to consolidate accounts. I own the briansawyer.net domain, and I've just forwarded everything going to that address into my Gmail account. And then once you're in your Gmail account, you can add the special domain to your reply to address, so I can send messages. By default, I'm in Gmail, but I set my reply all line to briansawyer.net. So I never leave my briansawyer.gmail.com address, but I'm getting messages from briansawyer.net, and I'm sending messages from briansawyer.net. So that works.
Yeah, that's the exact same thing I do with my Yahoo account in regards to my Gmail account.
And we also have a question. I'm sorry, from someone in the chat room asking if you've talked about multiple inboxes. That and auto-filtering on incoming email is how she keeps separate buckets and only logs into one place.
Right. Well, multiple inboxes is a feature that I think that's still a Labs feature. I mean, so there's not really a question there, but I'll just sort of highlight, I think, what it is that the user is pointing out. And this is actually something I was going to mention in the next section, and I'll go ahead and talk about it. If you go over to Settings and then click on Labs, let's see, is multiple inboxes is still in there. There's a feature called multiple inboxes that gives you some functionality in terms of sorting email as it's coming in. I've not personally used it, but I know a lot of people enjoy it. Under Labs, you see all of these different options of pieces of software that have been created, some by Google, that you can either turn on or off. So if I wanted to enable multiple inboxes, I could click on the enable radio button here. And a lot of times what ends up happening is stuff that is an up-and-coming candidate piece of functionality for Gmail will be included in Labs. I know the one that I use very, very frequently is this send and archive. I'll just go ahead and enable that. And so if I click on, I think I have to click save, save changes. So I just went to the lab and enabled a little program called Send and Archive. And so, if I write a note to Brian and say, thanks for the note, I get this new button here that says Send and Archive instead of just sending. And eliminates one click. After I've pressed send, now I don't have to press archive. It takes me back to the inbox, and now that email's gone. So I use the Send and Archive Labs feature a lot. Multiple inboxes is another one of those, but definitely if you're a Gmail user, it's worth playing around with.
Of course, it sounds like you risk starting to rely on a feature that you like a lot and then having it go away.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. I mean, in that, offline Gmail is a really good example. Actually, I think offline Gmail might still work in some cases, but for a while there was a browser plugin called Gears that I think it doesn't work on Safari anymore, and I'm not sure whether it works on Firefox or not. But basically, if you load this plugin, then it gives you the ability to store a local copy on your computer of your Gmail account. And if you get reliant upon it, you might be disappointed if they took it away from you, which I think is what they did. I don't know if Gears works for offline email or not still, but it's just one of those things. Don't get too dependent on, they have the ability to change things at their whim. Offline Gmail, just like offline Docs, which I mentioned in other classes, is something that we're all kind of expecting in subsequent versions of the Google applications. But until we get there, we're not there.